Hey, this is Troy from Planet 76. We've got some really good Sixers-focused content coming your way today. Make sure you subscribe to the pod so you can be in the know when we release new content. Enjoy the show.
Welcome, everybody, to Planet 76, episode 64. 64.
Is that right?
I think.
I'm gonna call a challenge on that, and I'm about to find out.
My name is Michael. As always, Troy with me here as well. He's gonna let us know if it's 64. I'm pretty sure it is, but this episode we're gonna get into a new Sixers edition. Montrezl Harrell signed with the team this past Tuesday. Got some extra Sixers stuff to go around as well. Make sure you guys subscribe to the podcast. You know the drill. We got 5 weeks till the season, 4 weeks till the season. Well, actually, what's today? Yeah, about a month-ish, like a month and like 5 weeks. Who's counting? Anyway, make sure you guys subscribe, and I'll let Troy ring us in to this one. Troy?
Okay, so I do have news. After further review, in honor of the NFL season starting today, after further review, this is episode 60.
No! I was so close.
Episode 65
one of these
Planet
weeks,
76.
One of these weeks, I will get the episode right. Yes.
One of these weeks. Hopefully we get it. Hopefully you get it when it's episode 76 of Planet 76. Because that's coming up soon. Anywho. So as big of news as we've had in Sixers land in a month and a half, maybe.
Probably
I don't even know.
About 2 months
again, who's
at this
counting?
point.
But a month and a half, 2 months. So out of nowhere, the Sixers pick up Montrezl Harrell and bolster their bench depth even more. Another former Rocket, a former player of Doc Rivers. And this episode's really going to be breaking that down, this acquisition, our thoughts, our concerns, whatever you want to do. We're going to go there. So this is going to be our full breakdown on Montrezl Harrell. And I'll start just with a little, we can get into more in-depth of his career in just a moment. But just kind of my initial reaction was very excited. I know that, he was a rookie, or not rookie of the year. He was a sixth man of the year in 2019, 2020 with the Clippers under Doc Rivers. And he's just a high-energy guy. He's a guy that you want on your team, and you like him if he's on your team. But if he's not, you probably hate him. He's just that kind of guy. He's got a big chip on his shoulder and plays hard, and I think he's got some Philly in him in that regard. So I was excited. Again, it was out of the blue, and I was like, what? I was just sitting at work.
Same.
I said, what? What just happened? So pretty cool. Again, I'm not mad about it. We'll get into some more detail on him. But what was your kind of reaction to Montrezl Harrell on the Sixers now?
Yeah, a lot of NBA stuff happens while I'm at work, and I take my phone and I'm like, what? Because it's usually extremely random. The Donovan Mitchell trade, extremely random. Had literally no idea it was happening. And again, like I said, the Montrezl Harrell signing was nothing short of random for me. I mean, probably for everybody too. I don't really know if anybody saw this in the works. I don't really think there was much rumbling of it prior. But Montrezl Harrell to the Sixers, 2-year deal. I forget the exact terms, but I know the second year is a player option, which means that Montrezl can choose if he wants to stay with the Sixers for that second year, or I guess opt out, maybe go somewhere else, maybe get a newer deal, kind of like what James Harden did this past year, obviously to a much larger scale because he's making more money, James Harden, the whole thing. And I'm going to kind of agree with Troy for the most part. I don't love it. I loved the PJ Tucker signing, loved the Daniel House signing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'd put it in that same category, but I do like it a lot. I think it really does round out the bench pretty well. I really would have liked to see Reed and or Bassey get some more run, but I kind of said it on my page,
right.
We know that Glenn isn't going to play these guys, so what's even the point at this point? It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So either Daryl knew that and said, you know what, let me just go out and get a veteran who's also actually really good, and or
Yeah.
he was just like, we're just gonna sign a veteran because either Daryl talked to the coaching staff, talked to Glenn, whatever the case may be. But either way, Daryl Morey is. Oh my gosh, I almost said Daryl Morey is a Sixer. What I meant to say was Montrezl Harrell, Sixer, 2-year deal. What would you rate? What would you rate out of 10? What would you rate this move out of 10? Yeah,
Out of 10, like given the
yeah,
circumstance,
contextually, of
given like
course.
where it happened, given it's 2 months, all of that, we'll give it a 7.6 here on Planet
It's
76.
honestly
How's that?
crazy because I was gonna say 7.5. No, I'm not even joking. Hand of oath. I'm not kidding.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I really do. To your point, and I had not thought of this prior to you saying that, but your point of, Doc,
Yeah.
he
Well,
wasn't going to play
I mean,
these
this was an
guys and
issue
Reed and
last season
Bassey
too.
and
So it's like
right.
it's at least in my opinion is probably gonna carry over.
Right. And it's better to go get a guy now so that he can gel and fit with the team and all of that than to get a guy at the deadline when you
Yeah.
have 20 games left in the season and then, because he's like, okay, Reed and Bassey carry the load for 60 games, but then a new guy comes in, he's going to be the backup big, and it's going to take more than 20 games to mesh, and you're going to be in the playoffs by that point. Now you get a guy who is going to get a full season. He is the backup big, and I think that's going to bode well for the Sixers. So I'm happy that if they were going to do something, they do it now, where you don't have another James Harden situation where it's a guy coming in with just a handful of games remaining in the regular season. The dude can score. Obviously, I mean, sixth man of the year, 2019-2020. That's a big deal. So that was then, and then he played another. Then he went to the Lakers the following season, averaged 13.5. The Rookie of the Year campaign, he averaged 18.6 points a game, and then spent split season here this past year in Washington and Charlotte, 14-11 a game there. The only thing that jumps off the page other than his scoring ability and his high energy, high motor, he's not a huge rebounder for the number of points he puts up. He only averages 5 rebounds a game. Now, again, this is a guy that's coming off the bench, so he's not going to average a double-double off the bench. But, yeah, what are your thoughts on what we're getting in terms of offensively, defensively, this whole again, yeah, I mean, I don't read too much into the whole rebounding because he's not going to
Yeah.
average 10 off the bench. So, what's
Yeah,
your
like how
thoughts
you
there?
mentioned his motor. I mean, when you talk about motor in the NBA, you really think of guys who are just constantly giving it their all, offensively, defensively, whatever the case may be. I mean, guys in the history, guys like Draymond, this guy's giving 100% every single defensive possession down the floor. And you see a little bit of that with Montrezl Harrell, thankfully, and I guess greatly. I don't know if that's a word, but you get what I'm saying. But yeah, I think when it comes to rebounding specifically, you're not gonna get too much from him in that department. He's kind of undersized. He's 6'7", which I had thought he was like 6'8", 6'9", and yeah, he's not. He's 6'7", and he plays center. So you're getting a bit of an undersized guy there defensively. But I think him being so mobile and being so strong and kind of physical things we're mentioning, those kind of help him out, kind of make up for what he lacks in the height department. And we know he comes with a lot of energy. He's, like we talk about motor, again, he's always ready to go at guys. It doesn't matter if they're bigger than him, he's ready to go at them because, like I said, his strength helps out with that. His mobility helps out with that. And offensively,
Mm-hmm.
scoring wise, he's a really good scorer. Like you mentioned, his six man of the year campaign. What did you say? He averaged 18 a game. That's
Yeah, 18
yeah,
and
that's
18.6,
really
something like
solid. And
that.
he's not much of a jump shooter, although a little bit improved in that area. So he gets most of his points in the paint, and I think it's really impressive for a guy who's 6'7" to be scoring in the paint
Yeah.
like that. And I think you're going to get a lot of that with him. He's probably not going to play a whole lot of games because, again, Joel Embiid is the starting center. But when
I've got some stats coming up
okay,
for you regarding that
but
too.
when he's playing, when he's starting, possibly if Embiid is sitting out, I think all of that production jumps up. He's going to score more, and this is pretty common knowledge. I mean, this goes to show, or this goes without saying for most guys in a position like Montrezl Harrell, but you're going to see a lot more from Harrell if he's starting, and when he's not, obviously because his role is backup center, I think he still can give you that double digit scoring, couple of rebounds.
Yeah.
Um, Physical defense, maybe not the best overall defense just because of his physical limitations. But I'm excited. I think, like I said, and like you said, he brings a well-roundedness to the roster, and he fits very well. So I'm really happy about it. He's a great lob threat for Harden too in the pick and roll, which is really important for a
Yep.
guy like Harden, and even for Maxey really, for any guard really on this team, aside from I
Yeah.
mean, I don't really know that Furkan gets many pick and rolls around for him, but
Well,
and Melton too, even
Melton
yeah,
could mesh
definitely,
well off the
definitely.
bench. Two new Sixers, and
Mhm.
that I could see Melton and him clicking well. Um, yeah, when's the last time the Sixers had a big that's
Yeah,
this capable of scoring?
scoring for himself
That's a
really
backup
because like
big,
we talked about, a lot of those points came from
right?
him just hey, let's dump the ball off to Montrezl Harrell, let's see what he can do. Whereas you need guys
Right.
like I mean, even for as great as Drummond was, he still needed shots created for him. He wasn't going to go out and really put the ball on the floor and get you
Right.
buckets. He was a guy that needed shots created for him, and that's
Right.
fine. But it's always a plus to have your big be able to do that. And since especially since Joel Embiid can do it so well, it's important to have a guy who
Mm-hmm.
can kind of pick up a little bit of that when you're off the floor.
Right. Well, and we legitimately now have a backup big man who you're not, again, he's not going to average 15, 20, but you're not going to be surprised if Montrezl Harrell
Yeah,
goes and gets you 17, 18 one night. You're not going to be surprised if he gets you 20 one
it's a
night. And that's
luxury.
like really, really cool because like if any backup big that the Sixers have had in recent memory, if they give you 20, it's earth shattering. But for Montrezl Harrell, that's not going to be the case. So that's really, really, really cool. The one thing I will say to your point about minutes and things like that, and you brought up a couple of things I was going to mention. So Andre Drummond, just to put it in perspective a little bit more. So Montrezl Harrell, the last number of years, again, he's been a guy off the bench in 458 games. He's only
Wow.
started 29 of them. So just saying. But he's averaged 26 minutes a game, 27 minutes a game, 22 minutes a game, and 24 minutes a game. He's been in the low 20s per game off the bench. Now, so I was thinking, okay, how many minutes is he going to get now? And I was like, well, can't look at Paul Reed's numbers as a backup big because those aren't legit enough to measure. Can't look at Charles Bassey. You can't look at
True.
DeAndre Jordan. So I was like, who's the last center we've actually had that's in that role permanently? That was Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond in his time with the Sixers averaged 18 and a half minutes per game. So maybe that puts it in a little bit more perspective for us. Maybe Montrez will be in that range. I don't think he's going to be getting 25. What do you think?
25 minutes, you said?
Yeah, so he's been, last number of years, 22,
Yeah.
23, 24 minutes a game. Andre Drummond in his time with Philly was 18 and a
A
half
big
a game.
portion of that, I think, was the fact that Embiid was out with coronavirus for that stretch of games, and I'm pretty sure Drummond started all of those games, so he's automatically getting more minutes. Now, hopefully, we don't have to deal with that again because that kind of sucked. But yeah, I think we're gonna see. I think Harrell is just gonna see the same minutes really that he's seen, because
Yeah.
partially because that's what he's used to, and the team knows that, but also partially because Joel Embiid is gonna be taking a lot of the minutes anyway, and Montrezl Harrell has never really been, probably ever, a backup for a guy as good as Embiid or even as close
Right.
to as good as Embiid. So he coming to this situation is going to be having the same amount of minutes.
Yeah. It It'll be interesting. I think it'll be interesting to see how many minutes he gets. Just given that he's, to your point, some of these other teams he's been on, although he's been coming off the bench, he's probably been the best backup big on the team, or best big on the team, regardless of if he's in the starting lineup. Now with Joel, I mean, again, he maybe, if Montrez clicks really well with this team, maybe, just maybe, it buys Embiid a few minutes per game, which is going to add up at the end of the season. So we don't have an Embiid that we're worried about his health. We're worried about his stamina going toward the end of the season. If Harrell can keep it up and play well, maybe Embiid's minutes go down a minute or two per game, and that's going to add up. So,
and that's a good point too that you mentioned about, if Harrell is good enough to the point where the team becomes comfortable with maybe resting Embiid against the Rockets, where they can just throw Harrell in the starting lineup, let him work. Because as far as I'm concerned, the Rockets traded their only real competent big in Christian Wood.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing against Jabari Smith, or who's their center right now? Şengün, the rookie from last year. But, I'm taking Harrell. I don't know the level of physicality that those guys are used to. And I think Harrell can kind of, in a situation like that, really have some decent production. So I think that's a good point too that you made about, in terms of how his role translates to Embiid as well.
Right, and possibly the greatest news of it all is that we don't have to suffer through a DeAndre Jordan, Paul Millsap kind of thing again. Oh my gosh. Montrezl Harrell is good, and he's going to give us production. He's going to give us some wow moments. The dude's only 28 years old. He's still got fresh legs. He's still got that, again, that high motor. So it's an exciting thing. I mean, that just bolsters this bench depth all the more. A couple other things on Harrell, and then hopefully if I remember, I'll bring something else up that's unrelated to Harrell. But you got anything else on him?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. I talked about it on my page pretty extensively as well. So I think I'm good.
Okay. So again, he's been in double digits every year since he was 24 years old. His first couple of seasons in the league were with the Houston Rockets, so you see the Houston connection there once again for the Philadelphia 76ers and all their guys that used to be in Houston. So what I wanted to bring up, and we'll close with this, is some Sixers page, and I often say that because I follow a bunch of Sixers pages. None are as good as Trust to Love, just saying. But some Sixers page I saw posted something interesting about the Sixers depth and the projected starting lineup, the projected bench. And one person that I noticed was missing was Shake Milton, who was not
I did see a couple of those in the past few days.
He was not in the bench rotation, meaning that the bench rotation consisted of DeAnthony Melton, Matisse Thybulle, Daniel House, George Niang, and Montrezl Harrell. Side note, two guys in that have silent letters in their name. Fun fact. Georges Niang is how it's spelt, and then Montrezl Harrell, he has a silent L at the end of his name. Fun fact.
Is that silent?
That is silent. It's Montrez.
That is silent. Yeah. Because I always thought it was Montrez was an abbreviation for his full name.
No,
okay,
it's
that actually clears a lot of confusion.
Montrezl. Okay.
Montrezl. Okay, that's good.
So two guys with silent letters. Anyway, that is not the point. Yes. But I got sidetracked, and I just noticed that.
Listen, I think it was worth noting because it helped me. So
anyway, that's the 5-man rotation off the bench. Of course, P.J. Tucker and the rest of the crew in the starting lineup. So, and again, most of the time we go with a 10-man, through the bulk of the regular season. Do you see it playing out that way? There's injuries and stuff. Not saying Shake Milton's not going to get his time, but if everyone's healthy, do you see Shake Milton not playing regularly?
I would take that personally if he didn't play. Not actually, but I would be pretty upset because I don't know that Thybulle who else would even has the chance to play over him?
Well, so it was.
Who else did you mention?
So the two that you could raise a flag on is Daniel House and Thybulle. They were the 2 and the 3 in that scenario, and then Niang was the 4.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
House you can justify because they paid him $8 million, and I want him to play. He deserves a spot here. He was one of two. Well, three if you count Trevor and Queen, but he was one of two of the Sixers' major free agent signings. So my thing is like, and I think we talked about this a couple episodes ago, but why are you not playing Daniel House? You gave him a 2-year deal, not 1 year, 2 years. So why would
what
you
do
not play him?
I mean,
So
this
you
is
play Milton over Thibault in that situation, like I don't know.
these are good problems to have.
because
Additional side note: these are good problems.
yes,
We're happy to discuss
yes,
this.
exactly. Because it's like you need. I mean, can Melton really be your only true guard off the bench? I don't think so.
That's a good
Thibault
point. That's
isn't
an
really
excellent
a
point.
guard to me because you need guards who can create for themselves, and Thibault can't do that. And
Right.
House is limited in that, even though can play guard if he has to. Niang is
Right,
extremely limited
he's not
in that.
Shake Milton.
Yeah, you need shot creation off the bench, and that's really my main reason as to why Milton should play over Thibault. Not to mention, I think he's better overall, but like
Wow.
you need shot creation off the bench, especially from your guard spot. That's what a guard. That's one of the main roles of a guard in the modern NBA is shot creation,
Yeah.
and Thibault has none of that. So I don't know really. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't know how you can justify that personally.
But it raises an extra.
Nothing against Thibault. Trust me,
Right.
it has more so to do with just Shake and fitting the role a little better, in my opinion.
Right, but the whole idea of a post like that raises an excellent point as to what
Yeah.
the heck are the Sixers going to do. So regardless, if you and I make a 10-man rotation for the Sixers, 2-3 people that play regularly in the past are getting left off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like someone's not going to be happy. I mean, think about who we didn't mention. Furkan Korkmaz, not even in the conversation that we just had.
Yeah.
Isaiah Joe, not even in the conversation that we just had.
Trevor and Queen, they also
Paul
signed
Reed,
into a
not
year
in the
deal.
conversation that
Paul
we just had.
Reed.
So, like, they have so much depth. And again, I think
But
a
again,
lot of
it's
it,
a good problem to have.
the good thing out of that, and particularly on the two guys that we just mentioned,
yeah.
Extensively in Shake Milton and Matisse Thybulle, is that they're extremely different players. The good thing that comes from that is that you can go situational. If you need buckets and you have no one on the out there getting buckets for you put Shake in. If you need someone to get in there and play defense and get a stop, you put Matisse Thybulle in. There's no debating as to like
point.
situationally, who do I want to put in? We need a stop. I'm going to put Shake Milton in? No, I'm going to put Matisse in. So that's helpful in this because it's not like you're comparing, two guys that are very, very similar. You can be situational with this. But again, there's limited minutes to go around. There just is with this team. And every one of these guys that we've mentioned is going to play. How much they're going to play, how many games they're going to, be seen in is yet to be determined. But this is a deep bench, and it just got deeper with Montrezl Harrell coming along, man. This is wild.
Yeah, and it's wild. It's exciting, and this we talked about. Like, we're talking about it right now, but we've talked about it in quite a few other episodes. This is a problem that championship level teams have, and I'm not saying the Sixers are that.
Don't freak out.
I'm just saying that if you have championship aspirations, you need depth, and a lot of times guys get cut. Not cut literally, but cut from the actual rotation because that's just the nature of it. When you have players on your squad and guys who want to be on your team, there's going to be fight for minutes, for rotational spots. Who plays better this night? Who plays better that night? It's kind of like what Troy just said. It's kind of it's situational, but it's also just kind of a, not back and forth, but it's going to be something that it's going to be a night-to-night thing. And, again, a lot of teams do experience that. That's what the regular season is for. And I'm hoping, unlike last year when the rotations still weren't set for the playoffs, that this year we can see, hey, okay, 9-man rotation. Harrell, Niang, Milton, whatever. House gets I hope not because I like House, but
Yeah.
House gets the boot. Whatever. 10-man rotation. Melton, House, Niang, Harrell. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, speaking of boot, and I'm sure we'll get to this, next week, the week after, as the season approaches. The other glaring issue in this that'll help a little bit with some of this rotation talk is the Sixers have 17 players under contract. They need to get that to 15. I'm looking at an article. They need to get that to 15 by opening night. That's what it says here. So that means 2 guys on this roster that are under contract are no longer going to be. I don't know if we want to go there right now, but
I could maybe we should keep this for next week's episode because I could say a lot and our Zoom meeting only has 40-minute limit, so
yeah, we're broke.
So, yeah.
The one thing I will say, this is an article, it talks a lot about the Harrell signing, and it gets finally to this point of there's 17 guys on this roster right now. The article mentions Charles Bassey was likely to be a part of that backup rotation, for the big man. Now with Montrezl Harrell coming in, what's his future look like here? It says prior to Tuesday, it seemed like Bassey was a safe bet to be on the Sixers roster. It says, although Harrell may bump Reed down a peg in the rotation, his spot on the roster is relatively secure. I agree with that. There's Isaiah Joe. Yeah. It says the Sixers did complicate their pathway to a potential consolidation trade by signing Harrell.
Yeah.
So, interesting times, and we'll see what happens, but we're still a few weeks out from training camp even. I don't know what's going to happen, but you're right. We'll save that good conversation for some time down the road as far as how the Sixers are going to get this from 17
and who knows,
to
maybe
15.
something will happen this week, but
right.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Well, maybe. Whatever.
Probably not.
Yeah. We'll see.
Hold on. Now I'm reading something. I'm seeing so Jordan Clarkson is mentioned in this article. Everybody knows what the Utah Jazz have done. So this reads, tell me if this makes sense. It says, for instance, if the Sixers were interested in acquiring Utah guard Jordan Clarkson, who's earning $13 million this year, they could cobble together enough contracts for salary matching purposes. Furkan Korkmaz, who makes $5 million, Matisse Thybulle, who makes $4 million, and one of Joe, Reed, Bassey, Queen, Springer, or Shake Milton would do the trick. And a 3-for-1 deal like that would help them reach the 15-man roster. So maybe they don't cut anybody. Maybe they just deal a trade for Jordan Clarkson.
Maybe.
To your point, Matisse Thybulle, you have to get rid of Matisse in that situation. You have to get rid of Korkmaz.
But then Shake gets kicked out of the rotation.
In that situation. Yeah, but then Shake, you're right.
Now we got more problems.
We're down to 15, but yeah, the rotation issues got a little worse. But that's, I don't know what Utah's doing or what their plans are, or but Jordan Clarkson, and
that would be solid.
And I take it that he's kind of on the block a little bit. Why wouldn't he be? Now, is Matisse, Furkan, and one of those young guys enough? I don't know.
I think it is.
Would you do it?
It might be too much.
Would you do Matisse, Furkan, and let's say Paul Reed?
No.
Isaiah Joe.
Give him Queen. Sorry, Trevlin Queen. I hope you're not listening to this.
Would you do Isaiah Joe?
For
Jordan Clarkson,
yeah,
I would.
I like Isaiah Joe, but I like Paul Reed more.
Yeah. I'm also
So I would do that.
I'm like not a huge Matisse fan. I have been. I just love watching him play.
Mm-hmm.
But Jordan Clarkson, and you think about the bench the Sixers have then, especially scoring wise, whew. Because again, these 5 of these names that are possibly in that package are either fighting for minutes or not going to get many at all. So, and you can bring in a guy like Jordan Clarkson who's going to be, I mean, I can't even fathom Jordan Clarkson, DeAnthony Melton, George Niang, and Montrezl Harrell off the bench. And throw someone else in there. Anyway, we can dream.
That would be the best Sixers bench unit ever.
Of all
Easily.
time.
Easily.
Wow. Okay. This has been a fun episode. Episode 65. 65 of the pod. If you liked this episode, which I hope you did, you should hit that follow button, the subscribe button, whatever you want to do. Send it to a friend. Send it to a coworker. Send it to a Celtics fan. We don't care. We don't judge. But anyway, this has been episode 65 of the pod. We'll see you next time for episode 66. And that's it. That's a wrap. Peace out. Are you on Instagram? Why don't you go give us a follow at Planet76 Podcast so you can be in the know when we drop new episodes. Thanks for listening to this one, and we'll see you next time.